Hey everybody, this is Lowly Jane, animal communicator and energy healer from animals-speak.com, and you're listening to Lowly Jane Animal Communication Podcast, the show that promises to open your mind and heart to the amazing world of animal communication, energy healing, and what I like to call interspecies therapy. Thanks for joining me. In today's episode, I'll be talking about your animal's microbiome and how it's related to the health and well-being of your animal. This is a very important podcast, so buckle up because I have a lot to say about this subject. I hope you enjoy the show. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a certified international professional animal communicator and pranic energy healer. I offer remote and in-person animal communication, whether they are live or in spirit. I also offer pranic healing for trauma, injuries, pain, illness, disease, and behavior and emotional issues for both humans and animals. For the humans, I can provide spiritual guidance by channeling your angels and guides, or even do a past life regression. And if you've ever wanted to become an animal communicator, I teach animal communicator training workshops and provide one-on-one mentoring. Check out my website for workshop schedules at animals-speak.com or mindbodyspiritworkshops.com. You already know I'm an animal communicator and energy healer, but what makes me qualified to talk about this? Well, something you didn't know is I'm also a registered dietitian with a master's degree in nutrition. Did you know humans are also part of the animal kingdom? In fact, scientists call animals non-human animals. Although animal nutrition is slightly different depending on the species, one thing we all have in common is our gut microbiome. So this podcast will be great for both you and your animal. Did you know that your entire body is run by bacteria? Bacteria has a bad rap. You were told to kill bacteria that will harm you, but I'm here to tell you that without bacteria, you and your animal would cease to live and have no immune system at all. What's so important about bacteria? This is what is known as your microbiome. Microbiome is simply the gut flora or bacteria which balances your gut health, digestion, immune system, and even hormone balance and your moods. I like to think of your microbiome as your personal ecosystem or rainforest. If it is balanced with enough diversity, everything works in harmony and in synchronicity. If it is imbalanced, your ecosystem does not thrive and neither does your rainforest. So what are the advantages of having a balanced microbiome for you or your animal? Healthy digestion, it maintains GI function, which is gastrointestinal. Healthy poop consistency, elimination of diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, gas, bloating, IBS, IBD, all of that. Helps reduce harmful E. coli and also something called C. diff, C. difficile bacteria. It helps maintain oral health, eliminate and prevent periodontal disease, eliminate bad breath, helps with skin and immune problems, helps with sleep, mood, anxiety, everything, a lot more. You or your animal's microbiome is made up of both good and bad bacteria. The gut is the area of the body that houses the bacteria or flora. Flora is the same thing as bacteria. Some are beneficial and some are harmful. If you have beneficial bacteria and harmful bacteria that are in balance, your body or your animal's body, your health will be vibrant and it's going to affect all of the body systems, of course. We'll talk about that. And again, if it's not imbalanced, you or your animals will have a lot less than optimal health and a whole host of disease-producing organisms. Harmful microorganisms coexist with good bacteria, but sometimes there is an overgrowth of the bad or harmful bacteria wreaking havoc on our digestive and immune systems. Have you ever heard of the term gut brain? This is also called the enteric nervous system. As it turns out, your gut houses 100 to 600 million neurons and is in fact the main brain controlling many body functions. In fact, a human has as many neurons in their gut as a dog and cat have in their brain. Did you know that your mood or your animal's mood is greatly affected by the gut microbiome? Most neurotransmitters, which control mood, sleep, and body functions, are produced in the gut by the beneficial bacteria, not the brain. That's right, bacteria is your friend. Happy brain chemicals like serotonin and sleep neurotransmitters like melatonin and also something called GABA, which controls fear and anxiety, are all produced in the gut by the good bacteria. As you can see, emotional distress can be related to imbalanced microbiome in the gut. An overgrowth of harmful pathogenic bacteria is known as a condition called SIBO, S-I-B-O. Your veterinarian may have briefly mentioned this to you. Most of the time you're told that your animal has IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, or IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease. But in reality, IBS and IBD are just symptoms of a microbiome imbalance, and it is not a diagnosis. But it's used as a diagnosis way too often as an umbrella term when they can't figure out what's going on. What's really going on is too much harmful bacteria and not enough good bacteria can set off a cascade effect of inflammation in the body. And unfortunately, too many vets and doctors use the term IBS and IBD when they cannot really diagnose the problem, and they may even prescribe medications for IBS and IBD, but you're not really addressing the root of the problem. And if you have listened to all of my podcasts or gotten an animal communication or healing session from me, you will know that I always address the root cause of all issues. I do not slap a Band-Aid on it. Many veterinarians and physicians do not really know or understand about the microbiome. They're not really taught this in veterinarian or medical schools. Some holistic vets and doctors will readily discuss this, but there are few. In my professional opinion, there is nothing, I mean nothing, more important than the microbiome and the gut health, since it will affect all systems in the body, especially the GI or gastrointestinal system and the immune system. Many illnesses and diseases can be prevented, treated, and reversed if you get your animal's microbiome balanced. Bacteria helps with so many things. It helps the body in digestion, assimilation, nutrient production, protecting the body from harmful pathogens, tissue repair, immune system, oral health, reproductive health, sleep, mood, anxiety, and many other bodily functions. Bacteria will help with digestion. It breaks down your food and carbohydrates, and it helps absorb fatty acids, which are fat. It aids in nutrient production. Bacteria synthesize vitamins and make nutrients available. The next thing it does is protection. Bacteria protects the body from infection, preventing disease-causing organisms from colonizing the gut by protecting colonized surfaces from pathogens. The next thing is dental health. This is really important because bacteria can help you and your animal maintain oral health and prevent periodontal disease and costly and potentially fatal dental issues, since the roots of each tooth are connected to specific organs in the body. And you can look those up online for each species, and you can see what organs that they're connected with. So that's very important. The mouth is the first part of the GI system where digestion begins and has a very specific set of microbes to maintain dental health. The microbes in your mouth are species specific. So if you're looking them up, you have to look up what type of animal that you're talking about because it's different for each animal. The next thing is tissue repair. Bacteria help repair damaged tissue in the intestines. The lining of the intestines is repaired by the good bacteria. And there's something called leaky gut syndrome. So if you or your animal all of a sudden has a lot of allergies, including skin allergies out of nowhere, there's something called leaky gut syndrome. And that is when the inside villi of the gut, the lining of the gut, the junctions are not tight. And so undigested protein will leak out into spaces they're not supposed to be in, undigested. For example, it leaks out into the bloodstream or the lymphatic system, probably both. And that's when you get all these poor digestion and allergic reactions that you never had. And that is called leaky gut. So it helps with tissue repair. The next thing is reproductive health. Bacteria helps maintain reproductive health. You may start thinking differently about bacteria. It's not you or your animal's enemy. Start embracing bacteria and your microbiome. What are some of the symptoms of microbiome imbalance? Well, as I mentioned, allergies, bad breath, diarrhea, poor digestion, poor oral health, skin or coat issues, inability to sleep, anxiety, and a whole lot more. That's just a short list. When we talk about the microbiome, it is species specific. So depending on your animal, there will always be beneficial bacteria and harmful bacteria. Again, it's a balance that you want to strike. So where does our microbiome come from? You and your animals get the microbiome from your mother in utero. The word in utero just means in the womb before birth. If the mother has a healthy microbiome, balanced and healthy, then it will be passed to the offspring while the fetus is developing. If the mother does not have a balanced microbiome, neither will the offspring. Another source is mother's milk. That's why mother's milk is best, since it contains a lifetime supply of beneficial bacteria. Bottle-fed babies or infant animals do not get these very valuable probiotics. And so raw milk products are sold in pet stores, and they are chock full of beneficial bacteria because they are not pasteurized or heat treated. Once you do a pasteurization process, it destroys all the bacteria, both the good and the bad. So all dairy products in the United States are pasteurized unless you go to the animal stores, and then you can find unpasteurized dairy products, raw milk, or raw dairy products for animals. Good bacteria is also used in the production of dairy foods like yogurt and cheese. Believe it or not, for example, E. coli, which you hear nothing but bad stuff about, poisoning people. E. coli strains are used to make your cheese. That's right. It's used to make cheese. So E. coli is not necessarily all bad. That is not a good bacteria strain. That's actually a bad one, but it's used to make something called rennin, which is rennin. It's used to make rennin in cheese production. And then also a bacteria, which is a good bacteria called Lactobacillus acidophilus, is used to culture yogurt and cottage cheese and some other dairy products. But again, unfortunately, it is illegal to sell raw milk products in the United States that are not pasteurized, except in the pet stores, like I mentioned. So all dairy products sold in grocery stores in the U.S. are pasteurized. And unfortunately, unless they add the probiotics after the pasteurization process, all the bacteria is killed. And even in soil, when you go buy soil, they heat treat it and they kill all the bacteria, the good bacteria included. So good bacteria can be replaced with supplementation of prebiotics and probiotics found in fermented foods that you can make yourself, and also supplements. So let's talk about the difference between a prebiotic and a probiotic. Probiotics are beneficial specific strains of bacteria, and prebiotics are the fibers that feed the bacteria. I jokingly call prebiotics fish food. Bacteria's got to eat too. So you must feed your bacteria what it wants in order to flourish, and it wants specific types of fibers. Common prebiotics are fructooligosaccharides, something called GOS, you'll see something called inulin, and you'll see something called AXOS, which is an oligosaccharide. You'll see something called XOS, which is also a form of oligosaccharide. You'll see something called COS and IMO, and they're all forms of oligosaccharides. And also dietary carbohydrates are also prebiotics. These are species specific, and depending on what you have going on, there's some of those prebiotics that you don't want to use. We're going to talk about SIBO later, SIBO. We're going to talk about that. You don't want to use all these carbohydrate-based ones. So depending on what you have going on and the species of your animal, you need to get a specific formula or at least do some education online. So please get a formula made for your type of animal. So how does your animal's microbiome become imbalanced? The biggest culprit in is our philosophy about bacteria in the first place. In most veterinarian and medical colleges, especially in the United States, the emphasis, again, is on killing bacteria, where the veterinarian and med students are taught exclusively to rely on antibiotics for fighting infections. You take an antibiotic or give it to your animal, and you're killing all the bacteria, the good and the bad. There are many infections now that are antibiotic-resistant strains because antibiotics have been overused for years now. After a course of antibiotics, it is imperative that you replace the good bacteria, or you are setting yourself or your animal up for a lifetime of illness and disease. Antibiotics are even found in your pet's food and can affect their microbiome. Livestock used in animal feed and pet food has been administered antibiotics throughout their lifetime and is passed on to your animal's food. In addition, we are obsessed with killing bacteria. Did you know that your skin and your animal's skin has something called an acid mantle, which is a protective layer of bacteria? When you constantly disinfect, use hand spray, wipes, bleach, etc., you are destroying this acid mantle. If you put together the constant prescriptions for antibiotics and in combination with external disinfectants, it becomes a lethal combination. The small intestines will then have an overgrowth of harmful bacteria called SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO. When this happens, your gut is ripe for parasites and yeast, which will further wreak havoc on your entire body. Did you know that instead of taking antibiotics when you're sick, you can take a very specific strain of a probiotic with the prebiotic, fish food, for specific illness and a disease and get a much better long-term result without wiping out all the gut flora? For example, certain ailments such as IBS or a UTI can be treated with specific strains of good bacteria. That's for you and your animals. So what can we do to replace the beneficial bacteria? Your microbiome can be replaced in many ways. People who garden get beneficial bacteria through the soil unless the soil is cooked. If you go look online at a lot of, people showing how to garden, they'll tell you to microwave the soil. Absolutely not. That destroys all the microbes. Ancient indigenous cultures used to eat bentonite clay. They used to eat clay. They used to eat dirt because that's where they get the beneficial microbes. I'm not telling you to go out and eat dirt, but playing in the soil, gardening, and letting your animal play in the soil is health beneficial to them. And so is grounding. So But if you garden with gloves on, you're covering your hands, you're not getting those microbes. So first, how do we take care of this? First, I recommend getting your animal's microbiome analyzed or your own. The gut microbiome testing is a fecal microbiome analysis involving identifying the strains of bacteria in the feces of the animal. They can also do some oral microbiome testing as well, but you need to get both. And there are many companies that analyze microbiome. I have a client that utilizes veterinarian recommended doggybiome.com for dogs. There's also kittybiome.com for cats and animalbiome.com for horses and other animals. You can test annually, which is what I would recommend, to see how your animal's doing with the microbiome, and you can follow it and know what to do. What is the next step after we learn what's missing, or if your animal has SIBO, which is, again, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? Some symptoms of SIBO include, and by the way, this can happen in humans and animals, chronic or intermittent diarrhea can sometimes appear to have a large volume with little straining and or constipation. Some animals may appear to be inordinately hungry and may even eat stools or other indigestible items. There's something called non-regulated EPI, which is exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. Bloating or GI pain after eating, reflux after meals, foul-smelling gas, stomach gurgling and discomfort or cramping, histamine intolerance due to an overgrowth of bacteria, which produces excess histamine from undigested food, and that will cause itching symptoms in your animals, allergy like itching, which looks like food or environmental intolerances, skin disease, leaky gut syndrome, like I mentioned, multiple food sensitivities and intolerance, which is related to the leaky gut, respiratory symptoms such as asthma, joint pain, mood changes, weight loss, weight gain, malabsorption, malnutrition, and then chronic illnesses like diabetes, neuromuscular disorders, and autoimmune disease. If your animal has SIBO, this means that there's too much bad bacteria or harmful pathogens and should be treated for this first using holistic methods. I cannot stress this enough. The standard treatment, listen to me carefully, the standard treatment for SIBO in animals is, you guessed it, a course of antibiotics. This is asinine, since antibiotics will kill all the beneficial bacteria, which protects you from SIBO in the first place. Obviously, you don't want to treat this with another antibiotic. Some holistic practitioners have suggested that the animal be treated with a combination of specific prebiotics, not the ones that I mentioned earlier, not the carbohydrate-based or sugar-based ones, but these other ones for SIBO. Specific prebiotics. Prebiotics, remember, is the food that feeds the probiotic. Prebiotics made from turkey tail mushrooms and chlorella, and soil-based, like I mentioned, you get microbes from the soil, healthy microbes, soil-based probiotics, and also digestive enzymes, folate, B12, and melatonin. It depends on the types of SIBO and the species of your animal, but I can guarantee you, treating SIBO with antibiotics is not the way. Find yourself a holistic practitioner. If it is determined that your animal does not have SIBO, you would want to work on replacing the missing strains of beneficial bacteria, including prebiotics and probiotics. Another option is a fecal transplant. This is the fastest method to restore the microbiome. And just like it sounds, it's dried, powdered, encapsulated poop, which is perfectly balanced in their microbiome. This method works very well with both animals and humans, although I don't know many humans willing to swallow a poop capsule. I often think animals know how to do this naturally, which could be why they eat other dogs' or cats' poop. Before self-prescribing and getting confusing information on the internet, because it will lead you in every which direction and a rabbit hole, try to locate a holistic veterinarian or animal practitioner that works specifically with microbiome restoration and SIBO. It is my gift to you to make you aware of taking your health and the health of your animals into your hands. I wish you and your animals the very best health. If you'd like to book a session to discuss nutrition, animal aromatherapy, animal communication, or healing, you can find me at animals-speak.com or mindbodyspiritworkshops.com. I also offer animal aromatherapy courses and workshops and animal communicator training workshops to learn how to telepathically communicate with your animal, and of course other mind, body, spirit workshops. That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed this amazing show on your animal's microbiome. Be sure to subscribe for more amazing episodes. Book your animal communication session now or check out my upcoming workshops and classes. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as opening your mind, heart, and spirit to your deep connection with your beloved animals. For more information, please visit my website at animals-speak.com, LowlyJaneAnimalCommunication.com, or MindBodySpiritWorkshops.com. And please subscribe to my monthly newsletters for invites and classes on workshops and events and the latest podcast. Join us next week for another fun Q&A session on animal communication and healing. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, like, and rate us. And as always, love and gratitude for listening to the Lowly Jane Animal Communication and Healing Podcast. This is Lowly Jane. This podcast was created, produced, and recorded, researched, and edited by Lowly Jane and is a product of Lowly Jane Animal Communication and Healing.